Hello, my name is Pierre Poutine, and this is my confession. I thought it was time to put my gravy on the fries and explain how this robocall scandal all happened, and how it contributed to the largest electoral fraud in Canadian history. They're trying to blame me for it, and make it go away, but it's not working. Here's my side of it. In February 2011, a man by the name of Fascist Harper called and told me that he was on a mission from God, and him and his friend Tick Vaves had been tracking my personal internet searches. As part of Canada's Economic Action Plan, I was to take a job from them as a performance artist in an immorality play called the Canadian Federal Election. They threatened to turn me into an accountable transparency if I didn't help, and I felt trapped like a duck in a tailings pond. Making things worse, I was trying to pay back my student loan and hadn't worked since Harry Potter 6 came out. Eventually, I called the number they gave me, and a man claiming to be Huck Farper answered the phone. Huck Farper told me I would be playing the role of an Elections Canada representative, and that my persona was to be bland and fake homey sounding, yet authoritative and megalomaniacal, much like their master baker, Stephen Harper. I researched the role, yet material was limited since Parliament had been prorogued several times. I noticed that he never ever said the word democracy, but liked to repeat the phrase ordinary Canadians until someone barfed on the curling rink floor. A script was sent to me, along with a case of signed Bibles, and beaver tails manufactured at a kiosk beside the Rideau Canal. The script focused on pissing people off and providing misinformation about something that would happen on May 2nd. I felt uncomfortable about it, but my student loan was so huge that I wasn't sure if I'd ever get out from under the thumb of the Boyle rank of Canada. I practiced the script frequently, usually on a beaver tail sugar high, and I burned the Bibles to keep warm. Several days later, there was a knock at the door, and a man introduced himself as Dean Del Maestro Fresh Waste. Some of his henchmen pushed me around and threw me into a dark truck with Alberta plates and blue truck nuts on the back. They took me to the storage room of a Tim Hortons in Peterborough. There, for 36 hours, Margaret Wenty forced me to wear a blue vest and stare at a photo of Stockwell Day on a jet ski in his underoos. Until finally I realized that this was not an absurdist performance art piece after all. If I didn't do what they said, they'd stuff some weed into my pocket. That, in addition to the weed that was already in my pocket, would enable them to sentence me to life in one of those new prisons they were building to house criminals based on an increase in unreported crimes. Still in the storage room, Rob Ford came in and punched me in the gut a few times while muttering the name Marge Delahunty. Peter MacKay helicoptered in and made me play Twister with Ezra Levant. And after that, Tony Clement strolled by with $50 million in his pocket and said that if I played my cards right, he'd build a gazebo in my backyard. With my soul melted down like a vat of old donut lard, I took the phone numbers and called them one by one, redirecting voters from polling stations to non-existent addresses and large vacant buildings, such as the Rahim Jaffer School of Integrity. My captors seemed pleased when the Conservatives won a majority with only 34% of the vote, but they never paid me the cash they promised, and they dumped a used fake lake on my doorstep before heading off to muzzle scientists and dismantle public everything. A few weeks ago, I heard a rumor that the RCMP and Elections Canada were looking for me, but couldn't find the so-called robocaller's house using their GPS devices, which kept leading them to 24 Sussex Drive. There, they ran into other officers and had a big game of bocce ball on the lawn until it got dark and their moms called them inside. Fearing for my life, I took refuge in the Conservative Party's Environmental Stewardship Headquarters, a tiny shuttered room beside a gas station in Guelph, where no one will think to look. I'm distributing this video via the last disposable cell phone I have, then going back into hiding. I now realize that this is a scandal of huge proportions that puts our basic democratic rights and freedoms at risk. It wasn't performance art like they first told me. They wouldn't know art if Margaret Atwood hit them in the face with it. And she should. It was fraud. Dirty, stinking, flawed, frog-legged fraud. The odor of this is worse than the smell of Terry Sawchuk's catching glove, and a little Febreze isn't going to make it go away. Please, do what you can to help, so we can, in the words of imported American television, book 'em Dano. I'm Pierre Poutine. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.